All right. Thank you for watching Eastern Volleyball Network. My name is Graham Wren. Kevin Knight unable to join us tonight, unfortunately. Here to bring you a recap video of the March 17th Captain Bill's AVP America Tournament down in Wilmington, North Carolina. If you don't already like and subscribe, please smash that like button, as Andrew McMurray likes to put it. Really helps us out a lot. We've got a big goal of getting to 1,000 subscribers so that we have live streaming capabilities, and it really means a lot to us if you do. Without further ado, first place, Angel Dashe, Jeff Samuels. Second place, Andrew McMurray and Misha Freystater. Third place teams, Nick Drucker, Brian Tillman, Spencer Gaston, Larry Selewski. Fifth place, myself and Brian Dirks. Fifth place, Mark Fornicari and Jay Madero. Seventh place, Josh Lanier, Brian Conacher. Seventh place, Colton Williams, Parker Beam. Ninth place, Garrett Bigg, August Britton, Matt Hazel, Mauricio Reese, Bodie Eanes, Ralph Lunati, Brett McMillan, Kenny Bryant. 13th, Adam Hyatt, John Lucas, Scott Schwartz, Giora Sella. 13th, Billy Brink, Jason Bolin. 13th, Kai Dunstan, Cameron McNamara. And the lone 17th place in what can only be described as just an absolutely gut-wrenching performance. Tortuous at times, put on the rack, stretched out, even at one point, screamed freedom to the sky before being taken out of this tournament. William Lewis and his partner, the aforementioned William Wallace, unfortunately, taking the 17th. Excuse me. All right, so what to talk about here? First thing to touch on, Angel and Jeff were honestly just dominant. Kind of how we hyped up Angel and Chris Vaughn for the Virginia Beach Indoor Sand Tournament. That's what happened here. They beat Spencer and Larry convincingly on the winners round of 4, beat Drucker and Tillman very convincingly in the semi, and beat Andrew and Misha extremely convincingly in the final. I think set 2 of that final was maybe 21-11, unfortunately, for Andrew and Misha. Not much else to talk about for them. Great job. Andrew and Misha, they really stepped it up relatively compared to their previous couple finishes. They actually switched sides. Misha was playing on the right side, and, he was still siding out real well. I think part of the idea was maybe to save Misha's legs, so especially early on, so Andrew could go on too. I don't know if that strategy actually paid dividends or not, but, good on them for taking a second. And they did beat Nick Drucker, who had knocked them out of, I believe, the previous 2 tournaments. So good on them, kind of getting the monkey off their back, so to speak. Nick's reign of terror has come to an end. I'm a little choked up. I don't know what to say. Got a little emotional. But at the same time, parity is a good thing. So, I think it's about time we lost the tournament. I think Nick kind of showed us today. I don't think Nick played necessarily more poorly or anything than he had the previous tournaments. I think what we kind of saw was Nick and Brian Tillman don't quite have the style fit and kind of the chemistry that Nick and Brett kind of just seem to naturally have. And at the end of the day, I think Andrew and Misha were able to capitalize on that. Spencer and Larry looked really strong. In the preview vid, we talked about how hard Spencer had been working, and Spencer looked really, 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 really good, and Larry looked solid as ever. We played them on the winner's side, and they beat us in 3, and we figured out pretty quickly that Spencer was doing a lot of good things, and we wanted to give most of the balls to Larry. But they still did get us in 3. We took 5th. Mark and Jay took 5th. Pretty much as expected, I think. I know in our prediction video, we had, I think Kevin had me and Dirks making it to the semifinal, but we didn't quite make it there. Brian and I definitely, I definitely love to run it again. I think there's something there, but it took us a good bit to kind of find our stride and figure out how to play together. Unfortunately, we just figured it out a bit too late, and it took a good 3-4 matches, and then lost a pretty close one to Nick and Brian Tillman in the 5th place match. Mark and Jay, two seasoned Grizzly veterans, if you will, looked solid on the day for the most part. Josh and Brian gave them a pretty close run for their money in that 7th place match. I think Josh told me they were like 2 points away from winning it. So, a real close match in 3. Our 7th place match, Colton and Parker gave us a real good game too. We kind of came out flat, and they absolutely punished us for it, and came out really, really sharp in set 1. And Dirks and I continued to kind of work out some kinks, and they were pretty close to taking set 2 from us as well. And then at one point, Brian looked over at me, and he goes, "I figured something out about Colton, run up and block." So I actually, on game point of set 2, I turned into a full-time blocker for a little bit, so that was a fun experience. Both Josh, Brian, and Colton and Parker, I would say, had some pretty good wins up their sleeve. Josh and Brian beat Matt Hazel and Mauricio Reese in the 9th place match. That's a little bit of kind of like teams playing a mirror image of each other. Both have like pretty physical blockers and then pretty speedy defenders, with kind of the difference being, I think Matt Hazel is a good bit more physical than Brian, and Mauricio is a good bit more physical than Josh as well. They're just a little rougher around the edges. Looks like all that training with Kevin Knight, as much as it hurts me to admit, has been paying off for Josh and Brian. Because Matt and Mauricio were definitely the more physical of the two, and like they played really well against Larry and Spencer in the opening round as well. Like the scores of those games were like 21-18, 21-18, something like that. But you look over and there were a lot of really good kind of higher level points going on, but then you might see that for 2 points, and then the third point, like something pretty dumb would happen, and they'd give up a point, which ended up being the difference in the end. The consistency of Spencer and Larry in that match was too much for them to overcome. Another team that looked pretty relatively strong on the day. I had never seen Garrett Big and August Britton play before. They're actually a couple juniors out of the Wilmington area. I think one is like 16 and the other is like 17, something like that. And they play and train almost constantly, was what Guy was telling me. They definitely had moments of looking pretty sharp and good, and pass relatively well, set really well. Just kind of plagued a little bit by a lot of the inconsistencies that come with being 16 and 17 years old. But all in all, boys, I looked over and watched y'all play for a match and enjoyed it, and thought you were doing some good things out there. Brett McMillan and Kenny Bryant getting 2 dubs on the day. Big day for them. I don't know if Brett had ever gotten 2 victories in the same day at a men's open tournament, but they did beat Adam Hyatt and John Lucas, as well as they beat William Lewis and William Wallace in that 16-17 matchup. So good on them for coming out on top and getting a couple victories on the day. Brett in particular, I noticed, looked pretty springy. 13th place, Adam Hyatt, John Lucas. They battled some teams tough, but at the end of the day, they weren't able to come out on top against a springy Brett McMillan and Kenny Bryant. I think the athleticism of Brett proved to be a little too much for Adam and John. Scott and Giora looked like they were playing some good ball, but didn't quite come out on top in either of their matches. We played Billy and Jason. Definitely a tough draw for them first round. It's not easy your first round of the day having to go over the 6'7" Brian Dirks. And then they weren't able to get their next one as well. Then the other 13th, I didn't get to see these guys play at all, but Kai Dunstan and Cameron McNamara. That's about all I got on this tournament. It was a relatively straightforward affair. As far as, I think a lot of the results were relatively straightforward kind of as I went through, but some teams definitely had some flashes of kind of doing higher level things than their finishes were, but I think as everyone knows, consistency is what gets you to your finishes. Those teams that kind of had those moments that stand out to me, I didn't really get to see Brian and Josh play, so I can't comment on that, but Colton and Parker definitely had flashes of brilliance. Matt and Mauricio also definitely had flashes of brilliance, which was really cool to see. So, hopefully they were two teams that struck me as kind of close to leveling up. Like if they're Pokemon, their experience bar is like getting close to that point, but they're not quite there yet. In particular, I think Matt and Mauricio, because they have a lot of they have the physical potential to do some damage, and the flashes of the technical side are coming. So, and they looked a good bit better than they did even like a month and a half ago when they came to January and played indoor sand. So I'm real excited to see what they continue to do this summer. Without any further ado, thank you for watching Eastern Volleyball Network, and look forward to seeing you at the next one.